Hello and welcome to the How to Life podcast. For those of you who are new to the show, my name is Dr. Laura Jagged, and thank you for tuning in. I am so glad you're here. This is episode 107. Every week, I bring you some good information on how to be a more confident, secure, and happy adult. It can be challenging, but it really is fun, and it's more fun when you have some resources to pull from. This is going to be another segment of the unofficial What Can I Do With My Life series. I have a few of these where people come on and talk about their jobs, what it entails, how to become it, what it can offer you. If you are a good writer, then this episode may be particularly interesting to you. I am speaking with Karthik Vijayakumar, who is a copywriter. He has the great ability to write convincing sales pages for products that gets the reader to convert and buy the product. He also can teach you how to do this. In a world of cynicism and guardedness, inspiring someone to take action through words is a great skill. So listen in and see if this could be something that would allow your good writing skills to pay off for you. Hi, Karthik. Good morning. I want to welcome you to the How to Life podcast and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Dr. Laura. This has been a pleasure talking to you. I'm looking forward to it.
You were gracious enough to offer to talk about copywriting and business as kind of part of the unofficial What Can I Do With My Life series. So before we begin, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you?
Sure. Well, I'm the host of the Launch Plan podcast. I'm a copywriter and I also run this blog called the Design Your Thinking blog. I write copies for a living. I have a history with podcasting. That's how I got started. So a little bit about that. 6 years ago, I decided to take a break from my career. And for the first 3 years, from 2016 to 2019, I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was doing a lot of different things. I started a blog. That's the Design Your Thinking blog. And I started to write about what I knew with respect to creating stuff, problem solving. So I have a history with working with startups and tech and products and marketing. So I started writing about it and I published an ebook. And about 4 months in, I had over 1,000 subscribers in my email list. And there was one blog post that went viral and people were all commenting on it, including the celebrities from that space that I was in at that point. And it so happened that I started seeing people ask questions that I did not have an answer for. So I asked a question because people were subscribing to my email list. I wrote an email to them asking them, hey, would you be okay if I started getting these answers from people that are more qualified to answer them and put that together as an MP3 and share it with you? And a lot of them responded saying yes. So that's how I decided to start the podcast. And that's where I come from, and that's what I do today.
So what was your job before you started doing this? What had you been doing?
I was a product manager, and what that really means is you work in companies where you have multiple products and you are responsible for one or more products in terms of what the product should be, who it should be built for, the market, the features that go into the product, the pricing that it gets sold for, the marketing that gets done for it, everything. So that's what I used to do.
Was there a lot of writing involved with that?
Not really, but there was a lot to do with your extreme focus on customers and what people really wanted. And I was in this B2B space. B2B is pretty crowded and pretty competitive. So I think that was what was common from what I used to do back then to what I'm doing now.
Well, what I wanted to know is you made a career change after several years. You got to a point where you asked, what can I do with my life? How did you make that change? How did you decide to turn it around?
So I started the blog in October of 2015, just a few months before I made up my mind to quit my job. So I used to blog before in 2005, 2006, all the way to 2009 out of pure passion. And I really liked blogging. I realized I had a flair for writing, and I realized I needed to have some space where I'm able to express myself at the same time connect with people. I had some 300 people subscribe to my old blog. So I wrote them an email and said, hey, you know what? I'm starting this blog. Would you be interested in hearing from me? And they said, yes. So I brought them over to my email list here and I started writing. That's how it started.
At what point was it that you realized you could turn this love of writing into something profitable for yourself and exclusively yours? Was it after that one viral blog post?
Actually not. It took me a while since then to realize that I could do something with it. It's only in mid to late 2019 when I actually decided to do something about it, because people were asking me for things that was all related to writing. For example, somebody came up and said, hey, you have a great website. Can you create something like that for me? So I did such odd jobs during my first 3 years of quitting my job. So I did not know that people were wanting my writing. I thought they wanted the website, the design and stuff like that. So I did not realize it until 2019, when actually somebody said, hey, can you actually help me write this sales page? Because I like your course sales page. I didn't know that was something that people are going to ask me for. So I said, sure, I can help you. And, since then I realized I have a flair for writing.
And that's one of the things you do now is build sales pages for people, correct?
Correct.
Since we're talking about writing and copywriting, is there a difference between the word copyright and writing? What does that exactly mean? And how can one think of themselves as a copywriter? How can they advertise themselves as a copywriter?
That was the question I battled with for quite a while. Frankly, there's a big difference between what you use for sales and conversions in the world of internet, like to get somebody to sign up for your lead magnet or to buy something from you. That is what we call as conversion copywriting or direct response copywriting. But then that is a lot different from what you see with writing books, or for that matter, writing poetry, literature. That's creative writing, it's writing for expression. But here we're writing for conversion.
So there's a marketing component to it as well, meaning
That's
that
right.
There's font sizes and colors and specific spacing.
And the biggest difference is you're writing for somebody to take an action here, a specific action in the case of what you do with marketing copy. What we write here is something that's going to turn into money.
Is there a certain class or course that you need to take to learn how to present copywriting, your advertising in a certain way, or did you figure this out on your own?
I did not take any courses. So one of the things I was worried about is it was a problem that I did not have a certification. And when I started to study these copies written by these people, I realized it's not about the certification at all. It's all about how much we understand what good copy is on the first place. So I spent a lot of time just appreciating good work. So I still consider myself a student of good copy because I think that's what I've always wanted to do. And then I just connected that with my previous experience of having created products for people. So I know how much important it is for you to understand who you're writing for. I'm still evolving and I'm still learning, and I still call myself a student of good copy than a copywriter.
So you're always looking at copy and seeing what you like and then tweaking it to your own style.
I wouldn't use the word tweaking because I think that's the biggest mistake I was led to in the first 3 years when I started selling my courses. I signed up for a few courses from a few copywriters, and I realized they were all giving out templates. Essentially, there are sales page templates that you can get anywhere and everywhere. Some of them are for free, some of them for a tiny sum. But I think the whole point is when I went down that road, I started to realize that all the copies that I see written using these templates looked the same, felt the same, read the same. And I realized that the soul of the copy was not in the template, because template just tells you start with a headline, the hook, the headline, the lead. That's not the point. The point is, am I actually understanding the audience, the target buyer that we're selling it for, and writing it for them? So once I realized that, I stopped using templates. So I wouldn't use the word tweak. Rather, I would say, once you understand how the human mind thinks, anybody can write good copy. I need to
So,
understand how people think.
do you write original copy for everyone who perhaps asks you to write something for them?
Yes, I write original copy. It's easier to write original copy than template. Yeah.
Does it change based on whatever the client is trying to sell or get across? Perhaps they have different audiences. Like me, I have a young audience.
Right.
Perhaps somebody else has a professional audience. So do you write in a different way to speak to each client's audience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's the whole point, right? The whole point is to connect. If I'm not able to connect to your audience, I will not be able to sell anything. I don't think that I'll be able to even get them to read something on that page. So it's so important to connect. And the only way you can connect with the audience for whom you're writing the page for is by actually soaking yourself in content that these people read and consume, and the way they speak, the way they express themselves, the way they express their frustrations, the way they express their joy. That's what you want to look out for. So, yeah.
You had mentioned certified copywriter. Is there a degree or some sort of certificate you can get in this field?
There are a few bodies that actually certify people as a copywriter. The one that I know is called AWAI. It stands for American Writers Association Incorporated.
But you don't necessarily need that. What skills do you need to be a copywriter? If somebody in my audience is listening to this and they're thinking, well, I like writing, maybe this is something I can do. What other skills might you need?
I think the biggest skill that you need in order to be a good copywriter is to have a lot of empathy for people in general. When I say empathy, it's not about just understanding their needs and desires, but also your ability to grasp what they say and don't say. So that's, I think, the most important skill that one needs to have. But apart from that, you got to be interested to understand how businesses work, especially if you're looking to write sales copies or conversion copies. I mean, conversion copies essentially means getting anybody to convert from one form to the other. So browsing internet to subscribing to an email list is conversion. Similarly, email list to sales is conversion. So the second thing I would really think is interest for learning others' business. Like you asked me, when you write a copy, do you write it with that audience in mind? And that's so important because every business is different. B2B, B2C is a big difference. But I think even within B2C, for an audience which is 60 plus, is a lot different from B2C, where audience is all using iPhones and Tinder, right? So the third one is curiosity. I think you got to be curious if you really want to write good copy. For example, if you wanted to write a copy, say, to sell a pen, the first thing that you need to have is like not the attitude that, yes, I know why people use pens for, but I think rather, why am I selling
What
this pen?
problems do they have?
Right. I mean, once you start to understand, you probably will go a whole different tangent trying to understand more about these people and come up with a whole different angle that you want to go with. But I think that's very important. And the fourth one, I think, is your ability to think out of the box. So you want to have this habit of having some original thinking. When I say original thinking, not having, or at least squelching the need to follow or see others' copies or templates and given to that urge of using someone else's copy. I mean, it's very easy to do it, but you will not feel very happy when you do it. So you got to have that need and urge to be original. And finally, I think it all comes down to the user experience is so important.
You had mentioned B2B and B2C. So I just want to define that for the audience.
Sorry. Yeah, we get used to B2B is business to business. So essentially, when one business is selling to other businesses, that is what we call as business to business.
And then B2C, which is
business to consumer. So B2C is what Tinder does, what Slack does. You open an app on your phone, they're all B2C businesses.
You're dealing directly with the person, very personalized.
Right. And I think that's more fun because the closer you can get to people, the better it is. And at least I found it more comfortable doing this, even when I was working in the B2B world. Like I said, building products and marketing them. the struggle I always had was to understand what these people using it end of the day really wanted.
So tell us what services you provide now for your clients.
Well, I offer three kinds of services. Like one thing that I do is to help people with sales pages. And I do this specifically for online courses and memberships posts. And the second thing I do is to teach people how to do it themselves. So I sell online courses and other kinds of information products. Like next month, I will be launching, it's called cohort-based course. Essentially, it's a combination of doing something for someone and selling a course. And the third thing that I've started to now do, and this is more B2B than B2C, which is more about website copy. So I've just started to do this for startups, writing website copy. So typically the challenge that startups have is they are low on headcount when they start off in the early stages. They are just the founders and two people, and predominantly the tech space. They are all focused on technology, and copy is just not the priority. So that's what I started to do, to actually go and work with venture capitalists to do the copy for the startups that they invest in. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I also have 15 years worth of experience working with tech and startups. So that lends in itself.
Sure. You know what language they speak. You know what point they're trying to get across.
That's right.
So this was a podcast about how to become a copywriter. If you think that this is something you might like to do, or if you have writing skills and you didn't know what you could do with those writing skills, you could be hired to write copy for a company, let's say, or you can use it to start your own business, transition into what you did.
That's right. If you decide to become a copywriter, you can use your skills to do a lot of different things. You can decide to just write pieces of content. The best way to do it is to start writing a blog, because you start to realize whether you like it or not, right? At the end of the day, I think copywriting is not all about writing. It's just about 30 or 40% writing. The majority, 60, 70% is actually about being, like I said, empathy, trying to understand. In my courses, I teach this. There's an entire framework around how you understand what people think. We always think as creators, we wear a creative hat. We are so immersed with what we do. It may be a course, it could be an ebook. So when you start writing a copy, again, it's important for you to go back and see who you're writing it for and use the language that these people use. Anyways, I think the whole point there is to get started by writing in whatever way, shape, or form you can get written content out. That's a great thing to exercise your writing skills. If you feel you are very comfortable writing, then your next experiment is going to be trying to sell products. You don't need to build a product to sell a product. You can sign up for some product as an affiliate and then try to sell that product. Your goal is not to get good with writing. Your goal here is to get good with selling. If you're looking to get into conversion copies, I think that's what you want to do. First step, blog. Second step, try to sell an affiliate product. Great thing. You can actually write about it and use your blog as a content marketing platform to sell your affiliate products. And the next step would be once you have some wins there, you can move into either teaching what you know and selling courses or ebooks, whatnot. And of course, if you are super comfortable doing this, the next step would be to go and help others with what you know.
This is really great. Karthik, thank you very much. And I would like you to tell us how to find you, because if you're a writer out there and you want to learn how to do this yourself, he has a course. If you are a content creator, if you have something to sell and maybe this isn't your strength, Karthik can write sales pages for you. So please tell us how to find you.
Sure. You can find more about me on my website, designyourthinking.com. And of course, you can find me on any of the social media, especially Twitter and Instagram. If you're out there, I am more active on DMs. So DM me at KartV, Kartvee. That's where you can find me. What I will do, though, is to put together this page called designyourthinking.com/how-to-life. I'll make sure I put the relevant resources so you can get started with what you want to do with copy.
Thank you so much. That's very generous of you. And thank you for coming on and talking and teaching about this. Really appreciate this. The audience does too.
Absolutely. My pleasure, Dr. Laura. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
All of Karthik's contact info will be in the show notes at howtolife.com/107. If copywriting is something that interests you, make sure you get the resource page at designyourthinking.com. And yes, I have some other podcast recommendations you can listen to that'll help you leverage your writing skills or your communication skills in general. In episode 83, Teresa Edmond talks about how to become a ghostwriter, which is another great way to utilize your writing skills. Episode 69 is about how to improve your communication skills in general. And in episode 81, Michael Gerhardt talks about how to communicate with empathy, which is one of the important skills that Karthik just mentioned to be a good copywriter. Make sure you follow all of these wonderful people on their socials, and please follow me too. Have a look at all the mominars that I have on my YouTube channel, How to Life, and subscribe as I put out new content every week or so. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast. All of the podcast episodes and all of the mominars can also be found on my website, howtolife.com. If you would, please take a moment and hit the 5-star rating button. That, as well as a kind review, really helps this podcast get more exposure and reach more people. I am on a mission to help take the fear out of adulting, and you can definitely help me by doing this. Thanks for listening today. Take care and enjoy the rest of your week. Remember to have fun and be easy and try not to worry so much. Everything is truly okay. You got this.